Hey everybody, Logan here. GameSir is back with a new round of controllers. Yes, no, I'm not talking about the G7 Pro, which, well, I guess as the time you're watching this, it's officially available for pre-order. I'm going to be getting the red and black one, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about a new one, a new wired retro style one. Yes, I know it's not the Nova 2 Lite, but I will be reviewing that this week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn that bell on for notifications so you know when I do. But right now we're talking about the I don't know how to pronounce that. I didn't know what that word was when I was reading it, and I was like, Tegenaria? Like Tengen from back in the day? Is that... I don't know, but it's called the Tegenaria Lite. Kind of reminds me of the Tarantula, but this one comes in two different styles. You've got a white and an orange one, and then the retro gray, as it's called, where it looks like a mashup between the PlayStation 1 and Super Nintendo controllers. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment. But this one looks pretty cool. It's only a $20 controller, $19.99. I picked this one up on Amazon and I was like, oh, this looks great. Great for PC, great for retro emulated games, I guess, if that's what you want to use it for. But I picked it up hoping it will work with the Polymega. I don't know. It was one of those that just showed up and I went, okay, bye. So I bought it and, well, it was the day it came out. The only thing I can do is unbox it, test it out. Let's find out. Hey, let's take a closer look. So it's got that classic retro PlayStation design, but if you look at the start and select buttons, well, here it's capture and home. It really looks like a Super Nintendo. But then the two buttons up there, well, there's your menu buttons from Xbox. So it's a little interesting the way they decide to set that up. You've got the symmetrical sticks. You got a PlayStation style, PlayStation-esque D-pad. If you look, it's not the floaty ones where each one is their own button kind of thing. So it looks very similar to that. You got your A, B, X, and Y like Xbox, but it has the PlayStation colors on the dots in the center. Now, if you take a look at the box, it does say retro gray, programmable rear buttons, meaning flappy paddles. Of course, I have to translate that for my audience because nobody knows what rear buttons are. It's flappy paddles. Drift-proof Hall effect stick. It's funny I was reading that, but thinking this. So Hall effect sticks, everybody wants Hall effect. Grip vibration, so all the rumble's going to be in the grip, makes sense. Software glyph swap, which means A, B, X, and Y can be swapped from Xbox to PlayStation to Switch style. Now, if we look down here, it says PC, Switch, Steam, iOS, Android, as long as you can plug it in via USB because it is a wired controller. So keep that in mind. Tegenaria. I'm going to call it Tegenaria Lite. But it's funny because I haven't seen a Pro or a non-Lite version of this. So I wonder if we're going to get a wireless version of this in the future that is not a Lite. So if we look in the back, it just goes on to explain what we just read. Hall effect sensing sticks, anti-drift and ultra longevity, durable membrane buttons, high durability analog membrane triggers, asymmetrical motors, real sensation, mappable back buttons, anti-slip laser texture grips. So this is going to be the basic of all basic controllers, but it's got that look to it, that real retro feel, and that's one of the reasons I decided to pick it up, plus Polymega. I know you guys are like, nobody has a Polymega. Not that many people, but I do, and I'm looking for that perfect controller. As of right now, I'm using a wireless one from EasySMX, the DO5. That's been my go-to as of late. You can use other ones, but that's the one I like. If I'm playing Super Nintendo games, I'm using the classic wired SM30 Pro. So let me shut up and let's unbox this bad boy. There we go. I'm a little disappointed. No more stickers. I did not see a sticker. I like having the GameSir stickers. Oh well. That looks a little different. I think it's just because these are sharper. That reminds me of the PlayStation 4, where you have the edges that are a bit sharper here. The sticks, well, yeah, that's classic GameSir style sticks. Try saying that 10 times fast. GameSir style. Okay, see, I can't do that. And you've got the A, B, X, and Y. And if you look right there, you see the colors associated with the PlayStation. So that's pretty nice. Like I said, you've got that PlayStation-esque D-pad, but it's a standard D-pad and doesn't have the connecting plastic underneath. That feels a million times better than a classic PlayStation D-pad. It's much softer, and it's less rough on the fingertips. Anti-friction rings are all right. Especially lately, I've seen significantly better anti-friction, but it's still nice. I wouldn't say completely anti because you get where a lot of the other GameSir sticks are now using metal on the stick to even create, I guess you could say, even less anti-friction, more friction, even less friction. There you go. But I like how this button is painted with the PlayStation colors, the red, blue, green, and yellow. You got your L1, R1, L2, R2. And then your menu buttons here, home and capture, depending on what you're using. That's pretty nifty. So if you're playing it on the Switch, and if you look at the back, 2 standard flappy paddles. It feels nice. It feels like an improved original PlayStation controller. It's got the, I guess, in-hand feel is what I would call it, closer to the GameSir Tarantula, which is a very nice controller. It's one of my go-to ones. Well, I should say it was one of my go-to ones on my Switch OLED, but since it doesn't wake up the console, unfortunately, I don't really use it with my Switch 2. I have tested it and it does work. Same thing with the Supernova, and those were my 2 go-to ones on the Switch OLED, but they don't wake up the Switch 2. This one will not as well. That's why I plan on using it with the Poly Mega. So the only I can do is test it and then report back to y'all. And then, of course, we must do controllertest.org and take a look at the latency. This is a very important test. Why? Because, well, we need to know the latency. And I've got some bad news to report because between the unboxing and this, I tested it on, well, the Poly Mega. And guess what? It does not work. Doesn't even recognize it. So it's pretty much shame. It also does not work on the Switch 2. So keep that in mind as well. I know a lot of people wondering, will it work with that? And no. Switch 1? Yeah, it worked fine. But not Switch 2 and definitely not the Poly Mega. So I'm already going to have to say, okay, nostalgia bait, that's fine. But as of right now, I can't recommend it unless you want something to play emulation on your PC, if that's what you're doing, PS1 games. Otherwise, it's just it's an inexpensive controller that, again, like I said, is nostalgia bait. But let's test out all the buttons. Let's see how it goes. But I'm already a little disappointed, so I'm going to this. Whatever it is, it is. Let's go. Alrighty, there we go. I will say I'm actually quite surprised by the latency. All of them seem to be below, for the most part, that 3 millisecond. There are a couple of exceptions, but again, this is right out of the box. First 40 presses. It will change over the course of time. I always tell people that, you know, your buttons over wear and tear over the course of who knows how long you're going to use it. The latency, the average latency will change, but right out of the box, that's pretty solid. You're looking at a 0.5, 0.6 minimum with around a 5.5 to 5.9 max, which is really good. And you're looking at around a 2.9. I would say, yeah, overall about a 2.9 millisecond average. Some going as high as 3.4, but yeah, some as low as 2.5. That's why I'm like, this is great. D-pad's solid. It's comfortable. It's a good controller. Hands down, it's a good controller in terms of just performance right there. So, yeah, you can't really say anything bad about that, but it's GameSir. I mean, GameSir makes quality controllers. So, the last thing to do is test it in a game, and I'll tell you how it feels. Alright, comfortable in the hand. Back buttons don't come pre-mapped. You're going to have to use the GameSir Nexus app. Now, the home and the capture, if you have Steam, this is going to be a Steam launch window, so keep that in mind. Not too shabby. Again, no trigger locks, so you're not going to... But still quick. Very responsive sticks. It feels fine. The controller feels fine. For all intents and purposes, it feels good. Honestly, this is something I wish worked on Xbox, but this is the closest you're going to get Xbox on PC. It's all right. It's all right for a $20 controller. I think it's definitely worth the money, but I was disappointed because it's not Switch 2 compatible. It does work with Switch 1, and no, it is not compatible with the Polymega. And as of right now, every GameSir controller I have tested is not compatible with the Polymega. So that's a downer. For me, I was really hoping to use this on games such as Street Fighter Alpha and whatnot, other fighting games, Mortal Kombat, you name it. But it's a solid $20 controller. If you want an inexpensive PlayStation style controller for your PC and Switch 1 with those symmetrical sticks and that retro design, well, for this one you got the gray or you got the white one with the orange that still has that PS1 Super Nintendo feel, kind of flair to it. Yeah, it's a great controller. Would I recommend it? Yes, with those caveats. But otherwise, that'll be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this video. Make sure you turn that bell on for notifications so you know when I test even more awesome controllers, especially the upcoming G7 Pro from GameSir, because everybody wants to see that one. So thank you guys so much. Again, God bless each and every one of you. And like I always say, be legendary. Thanks again.